I never believed in the stories old fishermen told about the strait between Cebu and Mactan. They said after midnight, the water doesn't just carry boats. It carries things that don't belong in our world. I thought it was just talk to scare tourists, a way to make sure people stuck to the scheduled trips and didn't wander out after dark. Until October 17th. That was the night I took the last ferry. I'd stayed late working at my job in the city, and by the time I got to the pier, it was almost midnight. The regular ferries had stopped running hours before, but there was a small, rickety wooden boat tied up at the dock with a sign that said Mactan last trip. I was tired and just wanted to get home, so I paid the man at the gate and climbed on board. The captain was someone I'd never seen before. His skin was as pale as driftwood, and his eyes seemed to stare right through you, like he wasn't really there at all. There were only a few other passengers. A woman holding a sleeping baby, an old man with a woven basket on his lap, and a teenager with his hood pulled up, scrolling endlessly on his phone. The air felt heavy, and a thin layer of fog was already rolling across the water. The ride usually takes 20 minutes, but 30 minutes in, we were still surrounded by fog. No lights from Mactan, no other boats passing by. Nothing. The engine sputtered once, then went completely quiet. The captain didn't even move. He just stood at the wheel, staring out into the mist like he was waiting for something. That's when the woman screamed. Her baby was gone, just vanished from her arms, like it had never been there. She was hysterical, tearing at her clothes, screaming that something had taken him. The old man stood up slowly and told her to be quiet. "You don't call attention to yourselves out here," he said, his voice low and serious. "Not when the fog is this thick." The teenager laughed and said it was probably just a prank, that someone on the boat must have taken the child to scare her. But I saw his hands shaking as he spoke, and his eyes darted around like he was suddenly afraid to be there too. I pulled out my phone to call for help, but there was no signal, not even a single bar. The fog was getting thicker, so thick I could barely see the person sitting next to me. And then I heard it. A soft singing sound, coming from the water below. It was the most beautiful sound I'd ever heard, but it made my blood run cold. The old man grabbed my arm so tight it hurt, and said, "Don't look. Whatever you do, don't look at it." But I couldn't help myself. I leaned over the side of the ferry, and that's when I saw her. She looked like a woman, but her skin was blue and scaled, like a fish. Her hair was a mass of seaweed tangled around her face, and her eyes were completely black, no whites at all. In her arms, she was holding something small and wrapped in a thin blanket. The woman's baby. She looked up at me and smiled, showing rows of sharp, glass-like teeth. The old man started chanting something in a language I didn't recognize, words that sounded rough and ancient. Slowly, the figure sank back into the water until all I could see was the ripples she left behind. But the singing didn't stop. It got louder, and I could feel the ferry rocking beneath my feet, like something huge was pushing it from below the surface. Then suddenly, the captain woke up, like he'd been in a deep trance. He stumbled to the engine and started it up with a roar, and the ferry took off so fast we were all thrown from our seats. We sped through the water, the fog seeming to clear just enough to let us pass. The old man finally let go of my arm and sighed. "We were lucky," he said. "That's the Sirena of the Strait. She takes one person from every boat that gets lost in her fog. Usually, it's the one who looks at her." I looked around the boat then. The teenager was gone. His phone was on the floor where he'd been sitting, screen cracked and glowing faintly. but there was no sign of him anywhere. The woman was catatonic, staring blankly at the spot where her baby had been only minutes before. The old man just sat there, staring at his basket, like he'd seen this terrible scene 100 times before. We reached the Mactan pier 10 minutes later. When we climbed off the boat, the captain was gone too. I asked the port authorities about the ferry, but they said there was no scheduled trip that night. No records of it ever leaving the Cebu dock. No record of the captain. Nothing. It was like the boat, and the man had never existed at all. I never told anyone what happened that night. Not until now. The old man gave me a small carved wooden amulet before we went our separate ways. He said it would keep her away, that she wouldn't be able to find me as long as I had it. But sometimes late at night when the wind is blowing off the water, I still hear that singing. Soft and beautiful and impossible to ignore. If you ever find yourself in Cebu City, listen to the old fisherman. Never take the last ferry, especially not when the fog rolls in. Because some things in the water aren't just stories, and once they see you, they never let you go. Subscribe to Past Midnight Logs for more disturbing stories.